Obamas are skipping Dick Cheney's funeral after Michelle's previous absences this year. Though Barack attended both Jimmy Carter's funeral and Donald Trump's inauguration in January, Michelle has been focused on life outside of politics this year, previously saying she's practicing the art of saying no. Barack and Michelle Obama are not expected to attend Dick Cheney's funeral on Thursday, November 20th, a source familiar tells People. Cheney, the powerful vice president of former Republican President George W. Bush, died on November 3rd at age 84. While it's common for first couples to attend the funeral of a vice president, expectations are not entirely defined, and the Obamas are not the only high-profile figures who will forego the Thursday morning service. Notably, President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance were reportedly not invited to Cheney's funeral, a detail that Axios first reported on November 19th. Their absence as the sitting leaders of the country is a more staunch departure from tradition, but not entirely surprising given that Cheney broke party ranks to endorse the Democratic presidential ticket in 2024. Former President Bill Clinton is also not expected to attend due to an unavoidable scheduling conflict, according to multiple reports. The reason for the Obamas' absence remains unclear, though they similarly missed Democratic Vice President Walter Mondale's funeral in 2022. Bush is slated to speak at the funeral, People confirmed, while former President Joe Biden and former Vice Presidents Kamala Harris, Mike Pence, Al Gore, and Dan Quayle are all expected to be in attendance, according to multiple reports. Several other political power brokers, including longtime Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Republican Senate leaders John Thune and Mitch McConnell, and Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts, will also attend, according to CNN. On November 5th, following the news of Cheney's death, Barack penned a public message on Facebook honoring Cheney's service in the government. Although Dick Cheney and I represented very different political traditions, I respected his lifelong devotion to public service and his deep love of country, he wrote. Michelle and I extend our deepest condolences to his family. Earlier this year, Michelle notably missed the funeral of former President Jimmy Carter and the second inauguration of President Trump, a break from the informal obligation for former presidents and first ladies. Barack attended both events alone. Michelle opted to skip Carter's funeral on January 9th, following his death on December 29th, 2024, at age 100. At the time, CNN's Jeff Zeleny reported that Michelle was still on vacation in Hawaii and chalked her absence up to a scheduling conflict. Former First Lady Michelle Obama is not in attendance at President Carter's national funeral service, her spokesperson told People at the time. Mrs. Obama sends her thoughts and prayers to the Carter family and everyone who loved and learned from the remarkable former president. All 5 living presidents were in attendance at Carter's funeral, as were the other first ladies. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, George W. Bush, Laura Bush, Donald Trump, Melania Trump, Joe Biden, and Jill Biden all sat together alongside Barack, who arrived alone. Michelle would have been seated near Trump, who has repeatedly attacked the Obama family and made disparaging comments about people of color. Less than 1 week after Carter's funeral, Michelle's spokesperson shared the former First Lady would also not attend Trump's inauguration. At the time, a source close to Michelle told People that adhering to protocol wasn't enough of a reason for Michelle to fake a smile for Trump's sake. There's no overstating her feelings about Trump. She's not one to plaster on a pleasant face and pretend for protocol's sake, the source told People on January 15th. Michelle doesn't do anything because it's expected, or it's protocol, or it's tradition. Michelle later spoke about her absences publicly on an episode of her IMO podcast, saying, "It took everything in my power to not do the thing that was perceived as right, but do the things that was right for me. That was a hard thing for me to do." She said that making independent decisions about which events to attend tied into her efforts to practice the art of saying no when it feels like the right decision. It's a muscle that you have to build, she explained her philosophy in April. And I think we suffered because it's almost like we started training late in life to build that muscle, right? I am just now starting to build it.